Now let's see about what we can say about Belarus. It's one of those landlocked countries, no open to the sea or oceans. It's an ex-Soviet country, ex-communist country. Right now, from what I understand, the situation there is not that much better than it used to be 40 years ago. So from what I understand, they still have a secret police and everything that comes with that. Probably is gonna be one of the, if not the most close ally to Russia. You can see they have even here in the east a border to Russia. And today we're gonna look at the population and see how they're doing, and also the main event, as always, we're gonna actually look with the street view and Google Earth and see exactly how well those people actually live there, especially comparing with the Baltic state. We see with Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, and we're gonna see how if the influence got to Belarus too, and we can actually see, probably, who knows, maybe, like I said, I didn't check it, probably it's not gonna be the same as those three countries, but who knows, maybe actually it's gonna be better. Now, population 9 million people. You can see they already have their peak in the 1990s, early 1992, 91. Clearly after the Soviet Union collapses, the population follow very quickly. The growing rate, it's a bit all over the place, I would say, but clearly we have a trajectory, descended trajectory, so clearly the population is going down. And you can see in the past, in 1955, they have 7 million people, but now in 2025 they have 9 million people. They estimate by the end of the year it's gonna go below 9 million people. We're gonna go with 9 million people. Now, like I always say, then I have to say it again, those numbers are pretty much showing a direction. They're not exactly the numbers. I don't believe even the government have the exact numbers, and if they have, they clearly like it to see it a bit more than actually they are. Now, back then in 1955, the growing rate was 1.2%. Now it's minus 0.65%. Back then, that translated in 80,000 people net increase. Now they have 60,000 net decrease. Migrants back then 18,000, but you can see they were pretty much all over the place with the migration, plus minus, it doesn't even matter. But from the rest, from the last years, we can see from the pandemic started, they got on the minus, and they're around to minus 3,000 in the recent years. Median age back then 25 years old. Now it's 42 years old. Fertility rate 2.6, so well above the replacement rate, but now it's 1.2, 1.3, which is low. They got below replacement except 1985. Starting from the 80s, they start going below replacement. So even in the control of the Soviet Union, they still could not prevent that, let's call it like that. What it's interesting, it's urban population. 1955, only 30% of people living in an urban area, but now in 2025 you're gonna see 85% of people living in an urban area, which is something interesting. Back then in 1951, the global rank was 51. Now it's 100. So clearly they did not keep up with the rest of the population. But again, in this case, I think it's a good thing, because even 9 million people in a country like this, I think it's too much. And probably Belarus is going to be better with a population around, let's call it 100,000 people. Now, in the future, we're going to see the population going down. Like I said, it's going to be around 7.5 million people. Probably realistically, it's going to go definitely under 7 million people. The yearly change is going to go down, increasing by year. You're going to see even the net increasing is pretty much stay the same, despite the population is going down further and further. So you're going to see always a constant about 60,000 people just pretty much disappear from the country. Migration is still on the minus, but it looks like they manage somehow. And again, when you talk migration, you can have, I'm not sure how easy it is to leave the country as a Belarus citizen, but to have, let's say, a decrease in population about 70,000, and you have an increase in migrants around 3,000, clearly you have some changes in the net population. But even if the migrants, they see they are on minus, so I'm not sure how many people from Belarus choose to live from the western of the world, and how easy to go there, how easy it is to go there. But probably it's much easier to leave Belarus from Russia. So I assume most of those migrants is gonna go to Russia and not to the western of the west of the continent of the Europe. Now median age is gonna be, they say 48 years old, probably gonna go above 50 years old. Fertility rate, I assume, in my opinion, again, like I make every single those videos, so this is only my opinion and how I see the future. The fertility rate is gonna go definitely under 1. That was not sustainable for a long time, and with the increasing age, there's no way this fertility is gonna keep above 1. Now urban population, we are already at how much was pretty much 85%. So by 2050 you can see in 2045 they're gonna have 97, 98%. So you can see pretty much 100%, 99% of the people are gonna live in an urban area. Now how you define urban area? As we can see with the Baltic states, well, now depends. If you count those small towns, even if they have, like I say, everything you need, everything you want, the same condition as in a cities, but they are like, let's say, in a village that they have like 50 houses and they live around, I don't know, 250 people there, you can count them as an urban area. That's fine, but it's more like, in my opinion, more on the countryside, so more like in a village. Even if you have the great house, new construction house in tarmac on the road, you have all the dependency, you have pretty much anything that you want, and even better than you have in a big city today, and they choose to count that as an urban area, fine by me. In this way, probably by 2050, everybody's gonna live, at least in Europe, 99% is going to live in an urban area, which is not bad. But it shows like in reality, we're going to be much more on the countryside as we compare with today. But who knows, by 2050, even that is going to compare like, okay, you have anything you need, that's an urban area. I'm fine with that either. Now, life expectancy in Belarus, not that bad, I would say. For both sexes is 75 years old, female 80, males 70. There is quite a difference between male and female, so 10 years, it's a lot, I would say. And it looks like the life expectancy kind of stay steady, but probably in the future is going to see just a bit more increase in that, I would say. What is interesting, look at this infant mortality rate 2.3 and death under the age of 5 3, which is actually great. I didn't expect that from Belarus. Everything you see from that country, we're gonna see in a minute exactly how they live there. It's pretty much dark, not that well, let's say, compared with the Western world. And despite that, by those two metrics, it looks like the medical system is much better than a lot of Western countries. So that is something to keep an eye on it. I assume those numbers are declared right and not corrupted or manipulated in any shape or form, but we're gonna go with those numbers from now. We're gonna assume they are correct, and judging by those numbers, the medical system should be great, and also the life there, because the age under 5 you have so few deaths, that should be great too. But we're gonna see in a moment. Now the demographic of Belarus, by the pyramid, it is pretty dark. One thing that it's interesting here, despite the narrow base of the pyramid, which is clearly gonna decrease in the next few years. Look at this male surplus population. They are around 25. After 25, you're gonna go pretty much in female surplus, which is something interesting, because in other countries we saw a male surplus around the age of 45, 50. So, and yeah, obviously, with time, after let's say 50, the female surplus is gonna be much higher. But from the young one, it is pretty interesting, I would say, to show this this graph. Now, how that is going to translate in future, who knows? But what we know for sure is the base of the pyramid gets narrow. It's going to get narrow and narrow with time. The population is going to go down, and also, if somehow, I don't know exactly how you can tackle this problem beside migration, obviously. This male surplus, this young male surplus here, because clearly you cannot control how many, at least for now, how many males they get born and how many females they get born. You're not living in those Muslim countries, and also, like I say, without migration, how you can actually solve, which is a problem, I would say. That's another problem that nobody talks about it. That, yeah, the fertility rate is low and all that stuff, and changing culture and all the things, but this male surplus here, that they are locked at a young age, and in this country, in Belarus, it's pretty mild, I would say, at 25 years old. In other countries, they go up to the 45, 50. How you solve that problem? That would be interesting to see, without breaking the traditional family. I have to say that too also, because a lot of people compare with that. So clearly there is some problem in that area. Probably, who knows, a female needs to have 2 kids with 2 different men to please everyone, but I'm not sure how that is going to translate in traditional values. In a more liberal one, yeah, that would be a different choice, but then you have another problem. You're running a million problems with this. There is something that other people don't talk about, and it is something interesting that just strikes me. If you have that male surplus in most of the European countries, especially the Western one, I'm gonna make a video about that. That kind of gives you legitimacy to draft those people, because they are a surplus, and they are the young one. You have a young surplus people, even those, like I say, countries that go to the 45, 50. You have a surplus. So yeah, if you have a war, let's say you draft most of the young people in Europe, you have a failure in the long term, but as a short term now, and you need it, that gives you legitimacy, I would say. But I'm gonna make another video about that. Now the economy, well, obviously not that well. Also, when I see this GDP, let's go with the nominal one. How much is it? It's 73 billion, so it's pretty much nothing. And the PPP, it's below 300 billion. Growing rate 2023 3.9, 2024 3.6, and 2025 they project around 1.1, so clearly on the decline trajectory. When I see this per capita, PPP is 32, which is, let's call it decent, but you have the nominal is more important, because you have $8,000, and if you, it's not like you calculate and you have $8,000 divided by 12 months, you're gonna see that actually in their pocket. No, it doesn't work like that, but there is still a very low number, because when I compare, it's like you have to buy something from outside the country. Let's say you want to buy a video card, a computer parts. You want to buy a phone that's not produced in your country. You want to buy a TV. You want to buy a car, whatever you want to buy that country doesn't produce it, and you have to import it from outside. They're gonna import at the outside prices, and you're not gonna be able to afford with such a low. It's just a number here. I'm just not telling you the whole story, but it tells you something, that the purchasing power for the average Belarus guy is not that great. Even if you see those, yeah, probably if you produce, let's say, bread in your country or whatever food, you might be seeing low prices from the same products or dissimilar products as we see in the Western world, but from those products that are made in just one part of the world and then exported to the rest of them. And like what I just mentioned earlier, when you don't have that purchasing power, that's gonna translate, in my opinion, in poverty. But I'm not an expert in this economic, but this is how I see it, at least. If somebody actually have more knowledge about this, you can comment and tell us more. Now the history, let's look very quickly about that. Well, as we know, the civilization in Europe go from south to north pretty much, so we're gonna see about that. Where is the first time? You can see even in this area. I'm not sure you're gonna see the first time the Belarusian civilization, people, whatever you want to call it, but we're gonna see at the recent history, you're gonna see pretty much most of their time, especially in the last few decades, pretty much part of the Russia and also the Poland, Lithuania. We don't have exactly a map here, but most of those countries you can see here, they are part of the Russia and part of the Soviet Union. And after the Soviet Union collapses, you can see they break in those small independent ones. So you can see where it is in the map right now, and in the history back when, what countries. So we have the Poland, Lithuania Empire or Kingdom or whatever they call it back then. And clearly they have some influence in that part, which I'm interested right now. Let's see the main event of this video, which is how exactly those people live in their country. And judging by those street view, you can see always not a good sign when I don't have pretty much every single street available to discover it. For me it's a bad sign, but keep in mind Germany has the same problem for quite a few years, and quite recently they just let Google, I would say, just pretty much go in every street. I don't know exactly the reason, but I remember when Germany looks pretty much like Belarus, not that many 360s and also not that many street views. So yeah, We're gonna work with what we have here, and hopefully gonna have some decent imaging about how those people live, but let's see it. Now, expectation, well, quite low, I would say. Clearly there is a difference between those Baltic states, especially Estonia. I would say that was the best one, I would say, and Belarus. Clearly the roads need some improvement. The small villages that they live, I don't think they have pretty much every single thing that they want in there, and even what they needed. It looks like those 360, I don't want to say if it's legal or not, but clearly they have some restriction. Obviously, you don't allow the roads to be made. You don't. Those are kids or just pictures? I think they're pictures. Yeah, it's gonna be tough to judge by that. But look at this, those Soviet buildings. Like I say, I don't care how much you paint them. I don't care how much you improve on them. They're always gonna look horrible, and pretty much, in my opinion, they should disappear. Keep in mind this is March 9, 2019, so even before the pandemic. So we're gonna assume, at least I am gonna assume, that they improve. Oh, they have some street view in some points. I don't know if it's working. Yeah, I don't know, it's sending me someone else. I don't trust that. We have to assume that they improve the condition with time, so expect to see better than what we saw here. No, so they have some, they will use some renewable energy at some point, so not that bad, I would say. I can't see the prices, but they have some highways here. Now, like I say, it's a landlocked country, so you're not gonna see any beaches here, not for today. And yeah, like I said, when you have those 360, it's a bit tough, especially in the city, to judge exactly how those people live. It looks like nobody's home here. Now, the same buildings, the road looks pretty nice, I have to say. I don't see potholes in it, so they maintain some of them. But yeah, it looks like they kind of make those 360 hiding, let's call it like that. Yeah, here is the problem with the road. They look like they, just from what I see, they got a bit stuck in time. Clearly, we have some lakes here, maybe you can see on the beach, and we have a street view here. Probably someone with a backpack, yeah, with a bike. Look how many screens this hike have here. That's interesting. Yeah, probably that's the only beach that they have. And it's interesting, I have to say, but not overwhelming. Yeah, they looks like they got a bit stuck in time. The landscape is nice. I mean, look at this picture, just great. They have some really great areas, but that number that we saw, $8,000 nominal per capita, is gonna translate in something, and I have a feeling when you're gonna go deep in those villages, we're gonna see exactly in what they translate that number. Otherwise, they don't look all that bad. If for 10 million people in this country, it looks pretty empty, I would say. But keep in mind, most of them, they're living in a urban area, as that chart says. Yeah, the road doesn't look that well here, but I'm not sure exactly how far we are from the main city, let's call it like that. They have some lakes, which is nice, because that shows you can have some, pretty much a replacement for a beach. And those 360, they are good quality, most of them. This is clearly with a drone, and it looks great. I like you don't have that many development in those areas. They just keep it clean, very natural. I like that. That is actually a plus. I'm not sure if there's some reservation in this area and they don't allow pretty much anything to be built, just go on the foot there, but it is nice to see that from above. Now back to the cities. Let's see, cities, towns, villages, whatever you want to call it. Let's see how they live, and this one doesn't work, I guess. Let me check another one. This one works. Hopefully it's not for someone else's house. Oh, we have a public square, whatever this is. They don't cover faces, which is something interesting. Probably those 360 are just updated by the regular people and not by the, not, let's say, surveilled by the Google, and they don't check if you cover the face. Now it's someone else's house. I'm not interested in that. Let's check this one. Oh, that's a nice house there. Yeah, but it feels like an old architecture. Let's go in a big city, the main ones. Let's see which one it's more. Let's go in this one. We have some street views. Oh, okay. Let's see how well they done. So again, this guy on the bike, just this guy make all the country. Nah, they don't have that many screens now on the bike, but it does. The quality of the 360 not that great, but the park looks pretty decent, I would say. Let's check those buildings. They have a lot of apartments, communist apartments. I can see it from above. So yeah, that's not gonna make a great image. Yeah, absolutely horrible. Oh god. Nothing to be proud there, I would say. Yeah, when you have those... Oh, they have a mountain here? They have a church on the mountain, maybe. It looks like that, yeah. It's a small hill there, not a mountain. I want to see more, let's say 2015. Okay, so 10 years old. Now, it's hard to judge on that, but I do believe those type of architecture didn't disappear. Doesn't look much like a communist, I would say, but they have the same vibe 100%. Now, they have a stadium. Let's check this one. I would have two of them. Whoa. One for practice, one for actually games, probably. Overall, yeah, you can see from above those communist buildings doesn't make them a good image on them. Not all of them. I can see some different architecture in some place, but keep in mind we are probably in the center of the country or the city. So yeah, probably when you go just a bit outside, the situation is gonna change. So let's check this one. Yeah, those apartments, they are there. The roads pretty much it's missing here. The housing looks pretty old. I didn't check the time when that was made, but yeah, clearly you can see some pieces of the architecture that's gonna stand forever. And this one, it looks like it's an abandoned building. Now, keep in mind, 10 million people now. It's much. We can see that in Lithuania, when there was clearly a difference. The more people you have in a country, especially in this example, we saw that the life quality, even they have more money, it wasn't exactly the same as what is this? This hospital. It wasn't exactly the same as we saw in Estonia. So clearly, in my opinion, that just, what the fuck is that? Can you imagine living in such a monstrosity? Oh, another one. The same guy, for God's sake. This guy probably just his jobs. There's just one guy to make the whole country. And it's 2024. Yeah, those buildings, they just pretty much ruin your day. Yeah, what I'm saying about the Baltic states, clearly you can see a difference when you have less people to deal with them, even if you have less money. That's a weird number plate. Clearly you have some differences there, because we saw with Estonia much less people than we saw in Lithuania, and the condition, in my opinion, was better in Estonia. And now with Belarus, they have even much more people, and they build these monstrosities here. It's gonna take a toll on the people. Yeah, those buildings we already see by now, horrible. it's not worth staying in this one. Let's go close to the border with Ukraine. Let's see how those small towns, villages, whatever it is, looks like. Yeah, I sustain my opinion. Less people in one part of the world, they can improve the life much better than the too many people. And probably if you see, like I say, even when you got in US, in Los Angeles, when I make that video, you can see clearly some of the people living the best life possible, and the others just pretty much scrapping for the whatever is left. So yeah, probably you're gonna have a much better civilization if you maintain it a low number in population. Even that comes with a low GDP, let's say, which that GDP doesn't tell you the whole story. The forests are clean, so yeah, I didn't look exactly how clean they're in the cities, but I didn't see trash, I think. Otherwise I will mention it. Let's check this one. Yeah, I sustain my opinion. Less people in one place, always gonna be better, and we're gonna see that in the future. Yeah, the roads not that great. We're gonna see that in the future, even in Europe. We're gonna see pretty much population going down, especially if they're gonna put a stop on this mass migration. We're gonna see a real improvement in the life of every single one of us, and especially if you choose to move outside the cities. That life improvement is gonna get exponentially better immediately, because let's face it, pretty much in Europe, especially in East Europe, when you have all those communist buildings, and me personally, I cannot wait to escape this apartment. The life just improves pretty much overnight. It's just that big of a difference. But when you live in a place like we have those horrible buildings and pretty much everyone jammed together and just a lot of people in the same area with too many opinions, too many ideas, too many things to deal with them, not a clear direction, and anyone is gonna push to that direction, yeah, you're gonna have some problems. And we see that in countries, like I say, that's why you see this in big countries usually, and small countries like Moldova, when just corruption is too high, that's not gonna work either. But in countries that small population, small territory, and they actually genuinely want to do something for the population, and they pull themselves together, not waiting for nobody else, they usually look much better than those bigger countries. So yeah, I would say again, it's better to have a small population with a small country, less things to deal with them, than just having a huge country and pretty much see them split in two. Some people, they have pretty much everything that they need and they want for a good life in this century, and the rest of them, which is pretty much most of them, they're just gonna try to survive, basically go in survival mode and trying to call it a life at the end of the day. Now, that was a clean area, I have to say. I didn't see any trash there, so clearly they keep their the wildlands, let's call it like that, clean. Even in the city, I don't see trash anywhere. So yeah, they keep. Oh, that's a nice church here. Look at this. Look at how this masterpiece looks here, and look at this building right next to it. It's just such a difference. Those one actually looks better. Come on, I would say those small, but those ones, just horrible. Yeah, the city is pretty much, and even the outside, what we saw, they are clean. They keep their cities clean. The roads needs to improvement and the housing, but otherwise they look pretty clean. And they need some Google Street. They have to allow the Google to come with the card. It's so much worse. I would say it almost looks like you want to hide something. And who knows, maybe those 360 that needs to get approved by the government to just be shown. Well, never think about that, but maybe it is. What is going on in here? Oh, so there is a new construction here. I get it now. Yeah, look at these houses. Clearly pretty old. Nothing modern, I would say. but I would say at least you don't have apartment buildings. But no, you have apartment buildings, and you have, look at this, the same communist. Probably they look new, who knows, maybe they got this one, it looks like the improvement now. They look like the new construction, but they clearly they missed the opportunity to actually change those the horrible architecture in something better, and just build the same way, cheap and horrible. So that it's a huge minus. It looks like some trash in this area, but probably it's from the construction side. Somebody the wind blow them, so I'm not gonna be too picky on that, but they need to clean that up 100%. Let's go in those small area. Doesn't look like a small, looks like an abandoned village, I would say, but no. They have those birds. Yeah, the housing in this one, we have a 360, which is same guy with a bike probably. Yeah, they have electric power, which is something. Again, the same system that we saw in Lithuania, I think. What this has to mean? I don't understand why they do that. Just looking horrible. Yeah, I have no idea how we got there so fast. So yeah, nothing to get proud of, I would say. Closer to the Lithuanian border, let me check where it is exactly. I'm not sure you're gonna see much of improvement, but we have a small village here, and I'm curious to see exactly how those people, if they get influenced a bit. Yeah, by those 360 it's kind of hard, because it looks like pretty much most of them that are made from the private property. But yeah, I can judge that much. See how hard it is to just not allow to have those street views. And it's gonna take a toll. Oh, this one could be nice. The quality of the 360 is not that great, but the land, it looks pretty nice and clean, so I have to give them that. They have lakes, which is nice. They are pretty much a flat country, I would say. So clearly a huge problem from a defending point of view. And it is pretty big. It's not that small, actually. I don't know. Probably we kind of saw enough. It's not bad, but clearly the same architecture. The roads need to be fixed. I have no idea what is that. This is from 2019, so before the pandemic. Yeah, I don't want to say it looks a bit stuck in time, and when they choose to improve it, just to build new apartments, whatever, they do it in the same way, which is horrible. At least this is how it looks from outside. The bus station is clean, so yeah, that tells you a lot. That tells you a lot about the people there. And you have the bus station clean. Looks like people taking care of the public property, which is good. Yeah, this is a casino with some not interesting in that either. Those apartment buildings, clearly it looks like something that you wish you never see. Let's check real quickly. I don't want to go inside, I want to check the outside of them. Yeah, you can see a lot of them is just made from the inside. What is those? Looks like garages. What is that? Yeah, pretty weird, I would say. What are those? It looks like you just pretty much live here, but you park your car there. This is what I get. Who knows, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I mean, look at this apartment. It's just horrible. I have no idea what are those. But those apartment buildings just horrible looking. Yeah, not a great life, I would say. But at least they have clean streets. The medical system seems to be good, and also the roads need some improvement. The building need a new urban code, and they need some street views, because it's just, come on, it's very hard to judge. I don't know what is this. Yeah, overall not that bad, but it's clearly not at the same level as we saw in the Baltic state, pretty much. Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, much better. Those countries did much better, but again, you have to deal with almost 10 million people, so it's gonna be a much harder task. And if you have a lot of the resources is going to secret police or whatever they have there, that's what I heard. I'm not sure for sure. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I see from documentary. And with 8,000 nominal per capita US dollars per year, well, you're not gonna get much, that's for sure. But overall, not a horrible, not the worst place to live. And yeah, those Baltic states, they got 10 times better than Belarus. So yeah, and also I keep in mind, I think is that pretty much the same level, but probably just a bit better than Moldova. So that's a plus for them. Otherwise, yeah, it looks like an ex-Soviet country 100%. That's not what we saw with the Baltic state. Those Baltic states did not look like that at all. But Belarus clearly looks like one of those Soviet country. You can see those three didn't look like. Those three pretty much look like those northern countries, I would say, with some combination of some architecture from Germany, I would say. But clearly much better than a lot of the European countries, I would say, a lot of those Western countries from these Baltic states. Belarus is pretty much the same. I'm not sure if you make that Ukraine video, probably somebody really asked it. We're gonna make some specifically street views from the Ukraines, and I'm not sure if they from Moldova, probably gonna do that too. But from what we saw here so far, yeah, Belarus is not the same level as those Baltic states. Keep in mind, ex-communist country, ex-Soviet country, so pretty much almost the same past, let's call it like that. Clearly they left behind. Now, room to improve always, but highly doubt that. We're gonna see how that is gonna play in the future. But overall, especially from the medical point, from these two metrics, looks really, really good, I have to say. And if somehow they keep, let's say by 2050, to keep the population under 5 million, probably the life is gonna be much better there. And if you continue on that trend with time and with those robotics and AI improvements or whatever, they're gonna get even better than a lot of countries that are today, see them as the Westerns. But the main thing I would say in those countries, they have to change their way of construction. They have to change their building codes. They have to stop building those communist apartments. They have to stop building in the same way. It's not even efficient. Probably it's just efficient by money, but otherwise it's gonna be a big problem, I would say, for the local population. Nobody wants to live in those apartments. Nobody wants to live in an apartment, pretty much. Individual house with a big land is gonna be always much better. And clearly the Belarus is a big country, they can offer that. Now they're gonna do it? Probably not, but the chance and the opportunity is definitely there. Fix the roads, allow Google to just come and cartographiate, whatever they call it, every single street of your country. Improve on the building code. Move, let's say, the people to the countryside, but it depends how exactly that countryside. But build individual houses with big lands, on big lands, modern houses. You need all the necessities in those areas, and pretty much you have the great land to just do that. But we're gonna see how that is gonna play in future. 2050 is gonna be an important year, I would say, the half of the century. Probably the war, who knows, is gonna be over by then, but we're gonna see how the rest of the Europe is gonna cope with that. Now for this video, that's it. If you live in Belarus and you watch this video, I have no idea if you have YouTube there. Yeah, I would be curious to hear of you how exactly the life it is there, and what would you improve? What would you change to see the country better, especially from the future?